So, as you may surmise from the title, I'm here today to talk about family. Explicitly, I hope to explore the seemingly innocuous question, what is family? And to do so through the examination of 6 examples from within the animal kingdom. Now, before we can dive into that question, however, we need to establish just a bit of common ground. So, as with all interesting and engaging talks, I'm going to start with a couple of definitions. Precisely, I know what all of you were hoping for when I took the stage. So, first up, fitness. Now, fitness in a biological sense has nothing to do with how often you go to the gym. Rather, fitness is a measure of how proficient you are in procreation. So maybe it has a little something to do with how often you go to the gym, but explicitly, fitness is not measured in terms of children born, but rather grandchildren born. So it's a second-generation statement of virility. Now, second, adaptation. Now, we tend to think of adaptations as primarily physical in nature, such as the one that made Henry Winkler famous. You'll get that. Adaptations may also manifest behaviorally. Now, regardless, a positive adaptation serves to increase the fitness of an organism. Adaptations then strongly determine the long-term fate of a species. So back to our question. Beyond basic genetic relationships, family is a behavioral manifestation providing long-term evolutionary selective advantage, which is to say, family is an adaptation. An adaptation expressed in a wide variety of forms across a multitude of species, a few of which I'd like to share with you now. So first up, sea turtles. Now, while it's true that a mother sea turtle provides effectively no maternal care for her young, it's equally true that she, through the trial of nesting, exhibits significant commitment on behalf of her young. Female sea turtles nest on the beach, way up beyond the high tide line, necessitating a somewhat Herculean effort to crawl up the beach, dig a nesting pit, cover the lay her eggs, cover the nest, and then crawl back again to the waiting surf. And she does all of this after she may have traveled hundreds or even thousands of miles to return to the same beach from which she herself was hatched. Octopi too lay eggs, though not on a beach. Rather, the female generally deposits her eggs within a protected alcove. Now, once laid, the mother octopus meticulously cares for her brood, keeping the eggs free from debris and protecting them from predation. She tends her incubating young at great cost, however, foregoing food and ultimately perishing soon after the young have hatched. Her life the price of a greater chance of survival for her young. Penguins nest as well, but they do so as a couple, with both father and mother taking turns incubating the egg and ultimately feeding the chick itself. Even so, this process often still requires fasting of the parents, though it does not definitively require the sacrifice of life, again, as parental duties are shared. Now, that is not to say that sometimes partners do not return from foraging. Indeed, and sometimes, when the old partner does not return, new partners are acquired, even occasionally including same-gender partners, to help rear the developing chick. Now, what you see here is the birth of a killer whale calf. Now, that calf emerges into a matriarchal society. Accordingly, while the calf has a strong bond with his or her mother, she is not the single source of care or instruction. Indeed, often the whole of the female cohort, mother, grandmother, aunts, etc., will both protect and teach the developing calf. Every killer whale baby is a group project. Now, here we have a favorite example of mine. This is Simon, and he's an Asian small-clawed otter. That's him at the bottom of the screen, taking one of his kits, that's otter for baby, and tucking it in after it's finished nursing. So as you can see, both parents, mom and dad, are deeply involved in the rearing and care of their young. What is likely not obvious, however, is that until we placed a camera in the otter's birthing den, the general understanding was that not only are male otters not involved in the rearing of their young, but that they might, in fact, be aggressive toward their young. Clearly, Simon showed us otherwise. And finally, perhaps my favorite example of family commitment, the humpback whale. Now, as we saw previously with killer whales, humpback calves are born into a pod structure which assures that not only will they receive care and attention from their mother, but from other pod members as well, an arrangement which is more commune than nuclear. And, as we saw with sea turtles, the mother makes an extraordinary journey to reach waters ideal for the birth of her calf, requiring that she fast for months on end and cross 1/4 of the Earth's circumference to reach her goal. And here's my favorite part. She does not undergo this considerable undertaking alone. The entire pod travels with her. Other mothers-to-be, juvenile whales, and accompanying adults who are there to help safeguard and care for the mothers and newborn calves. This group commitment is, to me at least, the very embodiment of the family adaptation, all engaged on behalf of the emergent generation. So as we've just seen, we as human animals are not the sole practitioners of familial engagement. At times, however, we may be the most removed from an uncomplicated view of what family truly is at its core. Family, in all its myriad forms, is fundamentally about a consuming commitment to the coming generation. Family is an adaptation, to be sure, but more than that, it's a connection, a promise made good. Both a verb and a noun, family is at once an act of devotion and the reason for such devotion. Family is a journey of which all of us are a part. Father, son, mother, daughter. It is a manifestation, an adaptation, central to our success as a species and the success of so many others throughout the animal kingdom. As an adaptation, though, the successful expression of family lies generations distant, potentially unseen. However, this unseen generation reaches back powerfully, manifest in the eager eyes of our children, or my children. Quite literally, the hope of a species, of our species, resides with the young. Family is an adaptation which cherishes children. And so, I leave you today with this question. If other animals, from sea turtles to humpback whales, can take extraordinary action on behalf of their young, their children, committing much and sacrificing all, will you, as a member of the human family, do any less? Thank you.